Someone asked me, after a talk I gave last spring, a question I haven't stopped thinking about since. She raised her hand and said, "How do I stop being afraid of becoming a burden to my children before I even am one?" Not, "How do I cope with needing help?" She wasn't there yet. She was afraid of a future version of herself, one who might need a ride, or help with the stairs, or, the word she wouldn't quite say out loud, care. She was grieving a loss that hadn't happened. I want to take that fear seriously because it deserves it, and then I want to argue with it because I think it's built on a mistake. Here's the mistake. Most of us quietly define burden as needing something from someone else. By that definition, every single person alive is already a burden, constantly to somebody, a spouse, a friend, a stranger who lets you merge in traffic. Interdependence isn't a failure state. It's the entire structure of every relationship that ever mattered to you. You were, at some point, 6 years old and needing everything from somebody. Nobody called you a burden then. They called it parenting. So why does needing help at 80 feel different from needing help at 8? I think it's because we've quietly swapped two different questions. The real question is, will my children resent helping me? But the question fear actually asks is, am I worth the trouble? Those aren't the same question, and only one of them has an honest answer. Let me turn this over once more, because I don't think the fear is entirely wrong. It's just aimed at the wrong target. What actually damages a parent-child relationship in the caregiving years usually isn't the help itself. It's the absence of a conversation about it beforehand. The child who gets blindsided by sudden, undiscussed need, no plan, no idea what their parent wants, guessing at every decision, that child does sometimes end up resentful. Not because they were asked to help, because they were never asked anything. They were just handed a crisis, which flips the whole fear on its head. The antidote isn't becoming so self-sufficient you never need anyone. That's not a plan. That's a hope. And hope isn't a strategy your children can act on. The antidote is talking about it now, while you still get to set the terms. Here's a sentence that does more good than most people expect. I don't know what I'll need, or when, but I want you to know what I'd want, so you're never guessing. Say that once, clearly while you're healthy, and you've done something most families never do. You've turned a future emergency into a present tense conversation, on your terms, in your voice, while you still have full say in it. There's research worth knowing here too. Gerontologists who study caregiving describe something called burden anxiety. And one of the odder findings is that it's often stronger in the parent than the actual burden ever turns out to be in the child. Adult children, surveyed after the fact, consistently report the experience as more manageable and more meaningful than they expected going in. The dread of adult is frequently worse than the doing. That gap between the two is exactly where this fear likes to live. There's a second-order piece here worth naming too. The children who report the most peace about caregiving later aren't the ones whose parents needed the least. They're the ones whose parents let them help a little, early, a ride here, an errand there, instead of refusing everything until refusal became impossible and help arrived as crisis management. Small, early, invited help teaches a family how to do this. Big, sudden, resisted help teaches nobody anything except panic. So if that question is yours too, I'm not going to tell you the fear is silly, because it isn't. I'm going to tell you it's early. It showed up before its job exists. Its actual job, right now, today, isn't bracing for decline. It's starting a conversation you get to lead. Have it this week, with one person. Not the whole family, not a summit, just one honest sentence to someone who loves you, said while you're still the one doing the telling.